The summer sun shone bright over Sea Haven, a peaceful coastal city where the ocean met the land in perfect harmony. Tourists walked along the wooden boardwalk, eating ice cream and watching seagulls dance in the sky. Children built sandcastles on the beach while their parents relaxed under colorful umbrellas. Fishing boats moved slowly across the calm blue water, their nets ready for the afternoon catch. Dr. Sarah Chen sat in her small office at the Sea Haven Marine Research Center, studying data on her computer screen. She was a marine biologist who spent her days learning about ocean life. For the past week, her sensors had picked up strange readings from the deep water. Something large was moving down there, but she could not identify what it was. Sarah took a sip of her coffee and looked out the window. The research center sat right on the waterfront, giving her a perfect view of the harbor. Everything looked normal and beautiful. She smiled, grateful for such a wonderful place to work. Suddenly, a loud boom shattered the peaceful afternoon. Sarah jumped from her chair, spilling coffee on her desk. She ran to the window and looked up at the sky. Her eyes went wide with shock. A massive object was falling through the clouds, trailing fire and thick black smoke. It looked like a meteor, but it was moving in a strange way, almost like it was trying to control its fall. People on the boardwalk started screaming and running in all directions. Parents grabbed their children and fled toward the buildings. Shop owners rushed outside to see what was happening. Car alarms went off throughout the city as the ground began to shake. The burning object grew larger and larger as it fell toward the harbor. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. She realized it was going to hit the water very close to the shore. She grabbed her phone and ran toward the exit, but before she could reach the door, the object crashed into the harbor with a sound like thunder. A massive wall of water rose up from the impact point. The tsunami rushed toward the shore, lifting boats and tearing them from their moorings. Sarah watched in horror as the wave crashed over the boardwalk, flooding shops and sweeping away everything in its path. Water smashed through the research center's front doors, and Sarah had to grab onto a railing to avoid being knocked down. After a few terrifying minutes, the water began to flow back into the harbor. Sarah's legs shook as she walked carefully through the flooded building and out onto the damaged boardwalk. Emergency sirens wailed in the distance. People were calling for help, checking on each other, trying to find lost family members. But Sarah was focused on something else. In the middle of the harbor, the water was moving in a strange pattern. Large ripples spread out from a central point, but they were not natural. Something under the surface was thrashing around. Sarah ran to the research center's dock, where her small motorboat was still tied up, somehow surviving the wave. She knew she should wait for the Coast Guard, but her scientific curiosity was too strong. She had to know what had fallen from the sky. She started the boat's engine and headed toward the disturbance in the water. As she got closer, she saw something that made her question everything she knew about the universe. A huge shape moved beneath the surface, dark and massive. Then suddenly, a head emerged from the water. It was a dragon. Sarah had seen pictures of dragons in old Earth stories and movies, but this was real. The creature's head was as large as her entire boat. Its scales shimmered with colors like the deep ocean, blues and greens and purples that seemed to glow in the sunlight. Two large horns curved back from its head, and its eyes were a bright amber color that seemed almost intelligent. But the dragon was in trouble. Its breathing came in short, desperate gasps. One of its huge wings floated on the surface, torn and bleeding. The creature struggled to keep its head above water, clearly exhausted and hurt. Sarah's training as a scientist took over. She forgot her fear and saw only an animal in pain. She moved her boat closer, speaking in a calm, gentle voice. The dragon's amber eyes locked onto her, and Sarah saw something she did not expect. There was intelligence in those eyes and pain and something else. Fear. The dragon was afraid of her. Then Sarah noticed something that made her anger rise in her chest. Around the dragon's thick neck was a metal collar. It looked like technology, not jewelry. Strange symbols were carved into the metal, symbols Sarah had never seen before. This creature was not wild. Someone had put that collar on it. Police boats and Coast Guard vessels were starting to arrive, their sirens getting louder. Sarah knew they would try to kill the dragon, thinking it was dangerous. She had to act fast. She positioned her boat between the dragon and the approaching authorities. Using hand signals, she pointed toward the research center and its large rehabilitation pool, built for treating injured whales. The dragon watched her carefully, its breathing still labored. Sarah was not sure if the creature could understand her, but she had to try. She slowly drove her boat toward the research center, looking back at the dragon. For a long moment, the creature did not move. Then, with great effort, it began to swim after her boat. It took nearly 20 minutes to guide the exhausted dragon to the shallow water near the research center. By then, a crowd had gathered, and police officers were shouting at Sarah to get away from the dangerous creature. But Sarah ignored them all. The dragon reached the shallows and tried to pull itself onto the concrete platform near the rehabilitation pool. Its strength finally gave out, and the massive creature collapsed, half in and half out of the water. Its amber eyes closed, and its breathing became very slow. Sarah jumped from her boat onto the platform and ran to the dragon's head. She placed her hand gently on its snout, feeling the warmth of its scales. Up close, she could see the collar more clearly. The metal was hurting the dragon, pressing into its scales and causing wounds. The police chief approached Sarah carefully. "Dr. Chen, you need to step away. We don't know what that thing is capable of. This dragon is a victim, not a monster. If I can't, or if it becomes dangerous, then you can do what you think is necessary. But please give me a chance to save it. But we'll have armed guards posted around the clock." As she organized her team to begin treatment, she wondered where this dragon had come from, who had put that collar on it, and what other secrets it might reveal. The peaceful day in Sea Haven had ended in chaos, but for Sarah Chen, a new and incredible journey was just beginning. The dragon lay still in the enormous rehabilitation pool, its massive body barely fitting in the space designed for injured whales. Sarah had worked through the entire night, treating wounds and monitoring the creature's vital signs. The sun was rising now, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, but Sarah felt no tiredness. She was too focused on her patient. Armed guards stood around the facility, their weapons ready. City officials had called 3 emergency meetings already, demanding that the dragon be removed or destroyed. The mayor had received hundreds of phone calls from worried citizens. News helicopters circled overhead, broadcasting footage to the entire world. Everyone wanted to know what would happen to the creature that fell from the sky. Sarah sat on the edge of the pool, her feet dangling in the water. She had taken samples of the dragon's blood and studied them under her microscope. The results amazed her. The dragon's biology was complex and advanced, far more sophisticated than any Earth creature. This was definitely an alien species, and an intelligent one. The dragon's amber eyes suddenly opened. Sarah held her breath as the creature's gaze focused on her. For a moment, neither moved. Then the dragon tried to stand, its body tensing with panic. Water splashed everywhere as the creature thrashed, hitting the pool walls with its tail and wings. The guards raised their weapons, but Sarah shouted at them to hold their fire. She stood up slowly, raising her hands to show she meant no harm. She spoke in a soft, calm voice, the same way she would speak to a frightened animal. "It's okay, you're safe here. Nobody is going to hurt you. Please calm down." Its breathing was fast and heavy, creating small waves in the pool. Sarah took one careful step forward, then another. She picked up a bucket of fish from the platform and held it out. "You must be hungry. These are fresh fish from the ocean. They're safe to eat." It swallowed them quickly, then looked at Sarah as if asking for more. Sarah smiled. This was progress. She filled another bucket and brought it to the pool. This time, the dragon took the fish more confidently. As it ate, Sarah noticed how the metal collar around its neck seemed to glow with a faint red light whenever the dragon moved. The collar was doing something to the creature, something bad. Over the next few hours, Sarah established a routine. She brought food, changed bandages on the dragon's wounds, and spoke constantly in a gentle voice. The dragon began to relax. It started watching Sarah with interest, following her movements around the pool area. Sarah noticed something remarkable. When she said certain words, the dragon's ears would move. When she pointed at objects and named them, the dragon seemed to pay close attention. This creature was not just intelligent. It was trying to learn her language. Sarah decided to test her theory. She picked up a fish and held it up. "Fish," she said clearly. Then she pointed at the water. "Water," she pointed at herself. "Sarah." It was trying to copy her words. The attempt was rough and hard to understand, but Sarah's heart raced with excitement. The dragon was trying to communicate. By the afternoon of the second day, Sarah had made incredible progress. The dragon would respond to simple commands. When Sarah said, "Come," the dragon would move closer. When she said, "Stay," it would stop moving. They had created a basic system of understanding. Sarah's research team had been working on the collar, studying it with scanners and special equipment. What they discovered made Sarah angry. The collar was a torture device. It sent constant pain signals into the dragon's nervous system, making the creature suffer every moment it was awake. The collar also blocked certain parts of the dragon's brain, preventing it from using its full abilities. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, Sarah's colleague, showed her the translation of the symbols on the collar. He had found similar symbols in a database of known alien languages. His face was grave as he explained what they meant. "Sarah, this collar identifies the dragon as Battle Slave 847, property of something called the Kryn Empire. This creature is not just injured, it's escaped property. Someone owns it, and they probably want it back." She looked at the dragon, who was resting peacefully in the pool, finally free from constant pain thanks to the medication Sarah had given it. "We have to remove that collar," Sarah said firmly. Marcus shook his head. "It's too dangerous. The collar has security systems. If we try to remove it incorrectly, it could kill the dragon. We need more time to study it." More importantly, Sarah had picked up strange signals on her equipment. Someone was scanning the area from space, searching for something. She had a terrible feeling she knew what they were looking for. Sarah worked through the night again, studying the collar's design. The dragon watched her work, seeming to understand that she was trying to help. At one point, the dragon made soft sounds, almost like it was trying to encourage her. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. How could anyone enslave such a wonderful creature? Finally, just as the sun began to rise on the third day, Sarah found the solution. There was a way to safely remove the collar, but it required perfect timing and steady hands. She prepared her tools and approached the dragon. "I'm going to take this off you," she said softly. "It might hurt for a moment, but then you'll be free. Do you trust me?" She counted to 3, then activated the tool. The collar made a clicking sound and fell away, splashing into the pool. The dragon's entire body shuddered. Then it raised its head and opened its mouth. For the first time in years, it could speak. The voice that came out was deep and rich, with an accent Sarah had never heard before. The dragon spoke in broken English, struggling with words it had learned by watching Sarah. "Thank you, Sarah, thank you." But her happiness was short-lived. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the research center. Everyone ran to the windows and looked up at the sky. Massive warships had appeared above the city, blocking out the sun. They were dark and threatening, covered in weapons. A loud voice boomed from the largest ship, speaking in English but with a harsh, angry tone. "Attention humans! You have stolen property belonging to the Kryn Empire. Return Battle Slave 847 immediately, or your city will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to comply. I cannot let that happen, not after your kindness. But it might be the only way to save both the dragon and her city. No, Sarah said firmly. We're not giving you back. Not now, not ever. But I'm going to need everyone's help. We have 1 hour to change the galaxy. Emergency, sirens wailed as police tried to evacuate neighborhoods closest to the research center. The mayor's office was flooded with panicked phone calls. Sarah stood in the research center's main lab, surrounded by her team. Tempest had moved to the outdoor section of the rehabilitation pool, where he could see the sky. His massive body was tense, ready to surrender himself if it meant saving the humans who had helped him. The city's emergency broadcast system crackled to life. The mayor's voice, shaking with fear, spoke to everyone in Sea Haven. Citizens, please remain calm and stay in your homes. We are negotiating with the visitors. We ask Dr. Sarah Chen to bring the creature to City Hall immediately. We have no choice but to return it to its owners. If we refuse, thousands of people could die. It blocked Tempest's ability to think clearly, to speak, to be himself. The Kryn Empire doesn't just own slaves, they torture them. It doesn't matter if Tempest is a dragon or an alien or anything else. Slavery is wrong, torture is wrong, and I won't be part of it even if it costs me everything. We don't have weapons or armies. They would show evidence of the Kryn's slavery operation. They would make it impossible for the Kryn Empire to hide what they had done. Public pressure from other alien species might force the Kryn to back down. Marcus nodded slowly. It's risky. The Kryn might attack before we can finish the broadcast. We have 45 minutes. Sarah, you should not risk your life for me, Tempest said, his voice growing stronger with each word. I am grateful for your kindness, but I am just one dragon. Your whole city is in danger because of me. But you're also not alone. If the Kryn have you, they probably have others. This isn't just about saving you. It's about stopping them from hurting anyone else. I studied the stars and taught young dragons about the universe. Then the Kryn came. They attacked my colony while we slept. They took hundreds of us. I have been a slave for 23 years. The galaxy needs to hear your story. He named other species he had seen in Kryn slave markets. His words were powerful and heartbreaking. Sarah and her team worked frantically to prepare the broadcast. They compiled evidence, created subtitles in multiple languages, and set up transmission equipment powerful enough to reach nearby star systems. With 10 minutes left before the Kryn's deadline, they were ready. Sarah stood in front of the camera with Tempest visible behind her. She took a deep breath and began speaking. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I am a human from Earth, and I have an important message for anyone who can hear this broadcast. 3 days ago, a dragon fell from the sky over our city. We thought he was a monster. We were wrong. His name is Tempest, and he is a victim of slavery. She showed footage of Tempest's injuries, close-ups of the torture collar, and translations of the Kryn slave markings. Then she let Tempest speak for himself. Tempest's voice rang out clear and strong. I was taken from my home. My family was scattered across the galaxy. I was forced to fight, to kill, to suffer every moment of every day. The Kryn Empire has done this to thousands of beings. They must be stopped. Dozens of alien ships began appearing in Earth's orbit, surrounding the Kryn warships. Species from across nearby star systems had heard the broadcast. Many of them had lost family members to Kryn slave raids. They were angry, and they wanted justice. A massive alien vessel, larger than any Kryn warship, moved to the front of the Coalition fleet. A new voice boomed across all communication channels. This is Ambassador Threll of the Galactic Council. Kryn Empire, you are hereby charged with crimes against sapient beings. Power down your weapons and prepare to answer for your actions." His career was being destroyed by a single human and an escaped slave. He slammed his fist on the command console. "Charge all weapons," Vec ordered his crew. "Target the research center. If we cannot have the slave, we will make an example of these humans." No one humiliates the Kryn Empire. He spread his wings, preparing to fly up and sacrifice himself to stop the attack, but Sarah grabbed onto his leg. "Wait," she said. "There's still a chance. The coalition fleet won't let them destroy the city." Ambassador Threll's voice came over the communications again, and this time it sounded regretful. "Dr. Chen, we cannot fire on the Kryn ship while it is directly over your city. Any battle would cause massive damage below. You must evacuate immediately." The Kryn had positioned themselves perfectly. They could fire on the research center without fear of retaliation, unless someone could get aboard their ship and stop the weapons from inside. Tempest understood the situation. He looked at Sarah with his wise amber eyes. "There is only one way. Someone must board their ship and disable the weapons before they fire. Dragons can fly in space for short periods. I can reach the ship. You wouldn't make it past their defenses." It was insane and impossibly dangerous, but it was the only chance. "I'll go," Sarah said firmly. Tempest's eyes went wide. "No, Sarah, you cannot. You would be killed." "But I won't let them destroy my city, and I won't let them take you back into slavery. You're my friend, Tempest. Friends protect each other." It was not designed for space travel, but it would have to work. She put it on quickly while her team tried to talk her out of the plan. Marcus grabbed her shoulders. "Sarah, this is suicide. Let someone else go. Let me go." "I don't. Besides, I know more about Kryn technology than anyone else here. It has to be me." Other dragons might exist in the galaxy, but right now, Tempest was the only one who could fly Sarah to that warship. "Hold on tight," Tempest said. "And Sarah, thank you for everything. Thank me when we both survive this." They had perhaps 3 minutes before the warship fired and destroyed everything she loved. As they flew higher and higher, Sarah looked down at her city one last time. Then she looked up at the massive alien warship ahead. Somewhere inside that ship was a weapons control room, and somehow she had to find it and shut it down before time ran out. The impossible mission had begun. Tempest flew through the sky with powerful wing beats, carrying Sarah higher and higher. The wind rushed past them as they climbed toward the massive Kryn warship. Sarah held tightly to the spines on Tempest's back, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Below them, Seahaven looked small and fragile, completely at the mercy of the weapons charging above. As they approached the warship, Sarah saw just how enormous it was. The ship stretched for miles, covered in dark armor and bristling with weapons. The main cannons glowed bright red, almost ready to fire. Sarah estimated they had less than 2 minutes. Suddenly, 3 shapes emerged from the Kryn warship. Sarah's blood ran cold as she recognized what they were. 3 dragons, all wearing the same style of collar that Tempest had worn, flew straight toward them. Their eyes were empty and lifeless, controlled completely by their collars. "They are sending slaves to stop us," Tempest said, his voice filled with pain. "I know these dragons. We were captured together. The red one is Starfire. She was my teacher before the Kryn took us." Instead, he twisted and turned in the air, dodging their attacks while moving closer to the warship. "Tempest, you have to fight them," Sarah shouted over the wind. "I will not hurt them," Tempest replied firmly. "They are victims just as I was. They do not want to fight. Their collars force them to obey." An idea struck Sarah. She remembered the device her team had built from studying Tempest's collar. It was a signal disruptor, designed to interfere with the collar's control systems. She had brought it with her, planning to use it on the warship's systems. But maybe it could work on the collars too. "Tempest, can you get close to them? Really close?" Starfire breathed a stream of fire, but Tempest rolled to the side at the last second. As they passed each other, Sarah activated the disruptor device. The effect was immediate. Starfire's collar sparked and smoked, then fell away from her neck. The ancient dragon stopped in midair, confused and disoriented. Her eyes, which had been empty before, suddenly filled with awareness and intelligence. Tempest quickly flew close to the other two enslaved dragons, and Sarah used the disruptor on their collars as well. Within seconds, all three dragons were free. They hung in the air, breathing heavily, trying to understand what had just happened. Starfire looked at Tempest, and recognition flooded her eyes. "Tempest, little Tempest, is that really you? And we do not have time for reunions. That warship is about to destroy innocent people. Will you help us stop it?" Now they had a chance for revenge, but more importantly, a chance to save lives. "We will help," Starfire said, her voice strong despite her years of captivity. "Tell us what to do." The dragons would create a distraction by attacking the warship's outer defenses. While the Kryn focused on them, Tempest would deliver Sarah to an airlock on the ship's side. It was dangerous for all of them, but it was their only chance. The four dragons split up and began their attack. They breathed fire at the warship's sensors and weapons, causing chaos and confusion. Alarms blared throughout the Kryn vessel as soldiers rushed to defensive positions. War Master Vex screamed orders at his crew, demanding they destroy the dragons immediately. In the confusion, Tempest flew Sarah to a small airlock on the ship's lower section. Sarah jumped from his back onto the airlock door. She pulled out tools from her emergency kit and began working on the lock mechanism. Her hands shook, but she forced herself to focus. She had studied Kryn technology for 2 days. She could do this. After 30 precious seconds, the airlock opened. Sarah looked back at Tempest one last time. "Get to safety, don't wait for me." She was inside enemy territory now, completely alone. The corridor was dark and filled with strange alien equipment. She checked the scanner on her wrist, looking for the weapons control room. According to her readings, it was 3 levels up and toward the center of the ship. Sarah ran through the corridors, trying to stay quiet. She passed several Kryn soldiers, but they were all rushing toward the outer defenses to fight the dragons. None of them expected a human to be inside their ship. As she ran, Sarah noticed something that made her stop. Through a window in one of the corridors, she saw a large cargo bay. Inside were cages, dozens and dozens of cages, and in those cages were creatures from many different species, all wearing collars like the one Tempest had worn. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. This was not just a warship. It was a slave transport. All these innocent beings would die if the weapons fired. She had to work faster. She finally reached the weapons control room. 2 Kryn guards stood outside the door. Sarah knew she could not fight them. She was not a soldier, but she was a scientist, and scientists solved problems with their minds. Sarah noticed a fire alarm on the wall. She broke the glass and pulled the lever. Immediately, alarms and flashing lights filled the corridor. The 2 guards looked confused and ran off to investigate, leaving the weapons room unguarded. Sarah slipped inside. The room was filled with control panels and displays showing the charging weapons. She had maybe 30 seconds before the cannons fired. She pulled out her scanner and searched for the main power control. Suddenly, the door opened behind her. War Master Vex entered, his face twisted with rage. He was large and muscular, covered in thick armor. Sarah had no weapons and no way to defend herself. "A human," Vex growled. "You are the one who caused all this trouble. You will watch your city burn, and then I will make you suffer for what you have done to my career. You torture innocent beings. You steal people from their families and sell them as slaves. You deserve whatever happens to you. That is how the universe works. They've seen the torture. Your empire's reputation is destroyed. Your superiors are probably abandoning you right now to save themselves." They were ordering him to stand down, to surrender, to take full responsibility for the incident. The Empire was throwing him away to protect itself. For a long moment, Vec just stood there, his whole world crumbling around him. His military career was over. His honor was destroyed. He had nothing left. Sarah saw something change in his eyes. She spoke softly, carefully. "You have a choice, War Master. You can fire those weapons and kill thousands, accomplishing nothing. Or you can do one good thing with what's left of your career. Help me free the slaves on this ship. Help me make something right." The glowing cannons began to power down. "I am a soldier," Vec said quietly. "I follow orders. I always have. But perhaps it is time I followed my own conscience instead." Throughout the ship, slave collars began unlocking and falling away. In the cargo bay, cage doors opened. Creatures who had been prisoners for years suddenly found themselves free. Sarah smiled, tears of relief running down her face. "Thank you." "Do not thank me yet, human. We still need to get all these beings off this ship safely. And I suspect my crew will not be happy about what I have just done." Kryn's soldiers were coming, ready to stop the betrayal of their commander. Sarah and Vec looked at each other, both knowing that their hardest challenge still lay ahead. But in the cargo bay below, dragons and dozens of other species were tasting freedom for the first time in years. And outside the ship, the Coalition fleet was moving into position to ensure that freedom would last. The battle was not over yet, but victory was finally within reach. A dragon fell from the sky over the coastal city, turning a peaceful day into chaos. They shouted and pounded on the locked door, demanding that War Master Vec explain his actions. Inside the room, Sarah and Vec worked together at the control panels, trying to release all the slaves before the soldiers broke through. Vec's fingers moved quickly across the alien controls. "The cargo bay doors are opening now. The freed slaves can escape to the Coalition ships. But my soldiers will reach us in less than a minute." Her heart filled with hope, even as the door behind her began to buckle under the soldiers' assault. Suddenly, Ambassador Threll's voice boomed through the ship's communication system. "Attention, all Kryn personnel. Your War Master has surrendered this vessel. Any soldier who continues to resist will face charges of war crimes. Those who stand down now will be treated fairly under galactic law." The soldiers were talking among themselves, uncertain what to do. Some argued for continuing the fight. Others wanted to follow their commander's orders to surrender. Vec opened the door slowly. 20 Kryn soldiers stood in the corridor, their weapons lowered but not put away. They looked at their War Master with expressions of confusion and betrayal. "Why?" one soldier asked. "Why did you betray the Empire?" "The Empire betrayed itself when it chose to build its power on the suffering of others. I have been a soldier for 40 years. I have fought in many battles and won many victories. But this is the first time I have done something truly honorable. I cannot change the past, but I can stop adding to the evil we have done." Sarah spoke up, her voice gentle but strong. "You all have a choice now. You can continue serving an empire that uses you to commit terrible acts, or you can choose a different path. Nobody expects you to become heroes overnight. But you can start by letting these people go free." A few even apologized to Vec, thanking him for giving them a way out of a situation they had never felt comfortable with. Over the next hour, a miracle unfolded above Sea Haven. Dragons flew through space, carrying smaller beings to the safety of Coalition ships. The Galactic Council sent transport vessels to collect freed slaves and take them to medical facilities. Species that had been enemies for generations worked together to help the victims of Kryn slavery. Sarah stood in the cargo bay, watching the evacuation with tears of joy on her face. She had saved her city. More than that, she had helped free hundreds of innocent beings. Tempest landed beside her, with Starfire and the other dragons close behind. "You did it, Sarah," Tempest said, his amber eyes shining with gratitude. "You saved us all. You have given us back our lives, human. We are forever in your debt. What will you do now? Everything had changed in just 3 days. I think, Sarah said slowly, I want to help make sure this never happens again. There are probably more slaves out there, suffering under other cruel masters. Maybe I can work with the Galactic Council to find them and set them free. Chen, the Council would be honored to have you join our efforts. Your courage and compassion have impressed many species. You could be an ambassador for Earth, helping your planet take its place in the galactic community. I'm not the ambassador type. I'm a scientist, but I would like to start a sanctuary, a place where freed slaves can heal and recover, somewhere they can feel safe while they figure out what to do next. The Kryn destroyed our colony, but the planet is still beautiful and peaceful. We could rebuild it together, a place where dragons and humans and any other species can live in harmony. They had spent so many years dreaming of home. Now they had a chance to return and create something new, a place of healing instead of pain, a place of freedom instead of slavery. Over the following weeks, the galaxy watched as an amazing transformation took place. The Kryn Empire faced sanctions and pressure from dozens of species. They were forced to release all their slaves and open their facilities to inspection. War Master Vec testified about the Empire's crimes, accepting his own punishment with dignity. Sarah and her research team traveled to Tempest's home world. They brought supplies, medical equipment, and construction materials. The dragons worked alongside humans and other species to build the sanctuary. They called it Haven, a simple name that represented everything they hoped to create. News of Haven spread across the galaxy. Other freed slaves began arriving, seeking refuge and healing. Some stayed permanently. Others recovered and moved on to rebuild their own lives. But all of them remembered the sanctuary as the place where they learned to hope again. Sarah's life became busier than she ever imagined. She spent her days treating injured beings, researching ways to remove different types of slave collars, and coordinating with the Galactic Council. But she also found time for quiet moments with Tempest, walking along the beaches of his home world and talking about the future. One evening, as the sun set over Haven's crystal blue ocean, Sarah and Tempest sat on a cliff overlooking the sanctuary. Below them, dragons flew freely through the sky. Children of many species played together on the beach. Buildings that once held only painful memories now housed families finding peace. "Do you ever regret it?" Tempest asked. "Your life was simple before I fell from your sky. Now you are responsible for so much." "My life was simple, yes, but it was also small. I studied fish and wrote papers that only a few people read. Now I'm part of something bigger. I'm helping to change the galaxy, one freed slave at a time." "How could I regret that?" "Mine too, Tempest, mine too." A symbol that compassion could triumph over cruelty. That freedom was worth fighting for. That different species could work together to build something beautiful. The peaceful day in Sea Haven had ended in chaos, but from that chaos came something wonderful. Earth had taken its first real steps into the galactic community, not as conquerors or warriors, but as friends and liberators. And throughout the galaxy, beings who had lost all hope learned that sometimes a single act of kindness could change everything. As stars began appearing in the darkening sky, Sarah made a silent promise. She would continue this work for as long as she was needed. She would help every slave she could find. She would show the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength was not technology or weapons, but the simple courage to do what was right. The dragon who fell from the sky had brought chaos to a peaceful city, but he had also brought change, hope, and the beginning of a new era. An era where slavery would no longer be tolerated, where compassion would be valued as much as strength, where beings from different worlds could come together and build something better than what came before. A peaceful village changed forever when a dragon appeared near a school bus at dawn.